A movie that boldly asserts that if you are a 15-year-old girl and still a virgin, you are in a very small minority. And that situation needs to be remedied as soon as possible. So, Jamie?
Yes!
Let's go watch Little Darlings. So, welcome everybody to the very first episode of Be Kind Rewind. We're a podcast about 80s movies. And every 2 weeks, we'll be reviewing or conversing about a particular 80s movie that revolves around a certain theme. If it's a seasonal theme or holiday or even something personal, but you'll sort of get the gist of it as we go. I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Doug McCambridge. I'm one half of your hosting duo. And with me, as always, from, let's say, sunny Nashville, Tennessee.
It is. Well, it can be sunny for 10 minutes and then cloudy the next. But yes.
All right. Jamie Lorella.
Hello. I'm very excited to discuss in depth, and not only discuss, but watch these thrilling 80s. 80s is the best decade ever. Let's be honest. So
I feel like... At some point, we'll need to talk about the 80s and our feelings about the 80s.
I was doing that. I was just doing that.
I know, but no, I'm not a big fan of the 80s, to be honest.
Are you not?
I'm not. It's weird. It's like the music, the fashion, the artwork. Like, I almost feel like maybe this whole movie thing is a good way to sort of bring me back into the fold, but I never identified as an 80s child?
No, I see what you mean, because the whole I see what you mean, because it's almost offensive, the 80s in some ways, like and I'm sure it was the big hair, the fluorescent, the fashion sense, everything is kind of abrasive of the 80s. So I don't think anybody's really, I think if you did a lot of coke, you're probably a big fan of the 80s. If you did a lot of coke in the 80s, because it was your decade to shine.
Exactly, and I feel like people that are in their 40s relate better to the 80s than.
True.
Like, I always feel like. I feel like I'm a child of the 90s.
A little more.
The first half of the 90s, I was in high school. The second half, I was in college. Those are very formative years.
Yeah. Agree.
So that's but I'm just hoping that this, So make me appreciate the 80s more. Let's just say
if this is any way to start your appreciation of the 80s, at 1980, which was when this film was actually made.
Yes. We should... the film we're going to talk about today is Little Darlings from 1980. It's by Ronald Maxwell. He directed it. He didn't direct much after this, except for some Civil War movies. Right, yeah. You got to start somewhere and then go nowhere.
Time.
And it has Tatum O'Neal, Christy McNichol,
yes.
Armand Assante, Matt Dillon.
A very young Matt Dillon.
I was about to say that's it, but that's a good...
That's a nice...
pull. That's...
nice, solid cast for around then.
Yeah, sure. And it is from 1980, so I almost feel like it's not so 80s. It's not crazy, out of control, giant hair.
No, it's definitely
not
early
wild, fluorescent
80s.
Neon colors.
Yes.
Yeah, it's... Because you got to figure it was probably filmed in 79,
true.
right?
So it definitely has that vibe, a late 70s, early 80s. But either way, very progressive with its storyline.
Extremely.
Just a real timepiece. No, that wouldn't be the right word.
No, it's not a watch.
It's not something that you wear.
That's right. I don't know what you're trying to say, but I think when you say progressive, that makes sense.
Okay,
progressive is right. That's exactly what
Okay.
this is, and so let's sort of get into it. So what we're going to do is every episode we'll just sort of switch roles. Let's say that right now. So because I came in and I introduced everything and I started us off, and I figure I'll just sort of wrap it up. You can take control over the narration of this, running us through, walking us through the film.
Okay.
And we'll see.
All right.
We'll see
I
how
like
goes.
this.
I think it'll go well. I think it's. How could this not go well?
We're
So
we're
far,
doing
so
it.
good.
We're here. We are.
That's right. That's right. All right, go ahead. Let's go.
This stunning portrayal of adolescence has an opening that's pretty poetic, actually.
Are you? What are
I'm
you referring
talking about
to?
the opening
are you
of the
referring to the main character kicking a guy in the balls 30 seconds
Yes!
into the movie
That-
when there is no dialogue at this point? We have no idea what we're seeing.
It's a beautiful thing. You're seeing instantly the stark difference between these two girls. Instantly, we meet this Angel. What's
Angel Bright.
Angel Bright. She's the bad girl, and we know that like within the first minute because she's kicked someone in the balls, literally.
And smoking a
Yes,
lot.
she's a little nicotine.
She literally lights a cigarette, kicks him in the balls, throws it away, lights another one, and gets in the car with her mom, who yells at her for
that's
smoking
right.
as she's smoking.
Yes, yeah.
And then the moment she gets out of the car and on the bus, she lights another
On the bus
cigarette.
to camp, by the way. On the bus to
That's
camp.
right.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm
No,
getting ahead
you're
of-
fine. Well, she meets.
And by us, I mean
Well,
you.
I'm. And the girls at the camp, of course.
Well, right. No, of course. So yeah, so there is Angel, but her doppelganger. let's call her
Okay.
that.
Yeah, her enemy for what her her Ferris, if you will. Ferris? Am I saying the name right? Is it
I think
Ferris?
so,
It's a very
right?
odd name, but for a very rich girl.
No, but there's Ferris Bueller. So apparently in the 80s it was a big
But
name.
and also an androgynous name because she's clearly Ferris Bueller is a dude and she's Ferris. I have never heard Ferris wheel. Like it's an enjoyable.
You've never heard of the Ferris wheel because it's actually quite popular. No,
Anyway.
but her name is. All the names in this don't make any sense. She's Ferris, Christy McNichol's Angel, Matt Dillon's name is Randy.
Randy.
Really?
Randy. Yes.
And he's supposed to be the super hunk. I don't even know what the other guy's name is, Mr. Callahan.
Yes, it
But
is, Coach Callahan.
We're talking about all these characters who don't even show up for the first half hour
No,
of this movie.
well, we do.
So go ahead.
So we meet these girls, right? We get on the bus with them, and what is the first thing these two do? They're on the bus. They don't like each other. They've got a
fight for
fist
no
fight.
reason.
They've got a fist fight.
No reason
They
whatsoever.
just sit next to each other on the bus, and there's a fist fight.
Yeah, and I don't understand half the scenes in this movie. That one is very perplexing.
definitely
I like how the
hodgepodge
bus
together.
driver pulls over and yells at them, and then just kind of keeps driving.
Well, and then
Nothing is resolved.
No. Then they get out of the bus and they have another fist fight once they're at the camp. Like they can't keep their paws off each other. They've said nothing. There's been no words
They
exchanged.
have to stop. This camp must be hundreds of miles away because they have to stop at a giant rest stop. The bathroom looks
that's
like
right.
I don't know. It's like a giant locker room.
Yes.
Right? And then the girls argue and fight, and I don't know. The mean one calls one of them a lesbian, or both of them lesbians.
That's when she
I'm
calls
not
her out for the
100%
first time
sure.
of being. Yes, she calls out Angel because Angel's the tougher one, so she looks a little more rough around the edges, if you will.
She does. Although the only difference between the two of them is she's wearing jeans and the other girl's wearing a pantsuit.
Right.
Other than that, they kind of look alike.
True. Well, yes. Yes. The real twinsies, though, are Matt Dillon and Christy McNichol. Or Matt Dillon. And I mean, they look. But we'll get to that in a second because if you want to, so this group gets themselves to camp. And now I've never
Finally.
been to a summer camp before. I wish that I had had a summer camp
Neither
experience.
have I. Me too.
But if I had one, this would be a pretty interesting one to be involved. Like, I'm assuming camps are kind of go this way. Like, think about it. All these kids are out in nature in this pubescent time of their lives, sexually charged. So,
Well, I was confused as to the bus is full,
Mm-hmm.
and it's full of a bunch of girls that appear to be the same age. They all look anywhere from 13 to 17,
Right.
something like
Mm-hmm.
that. But then they get there, and I don't know. There's entire groups of kids that are apparently 10 years old at this camp as well. So is it just like 10-year-olds and 17-year-olds all kind of hanging out together and playing sports? I don't know if that's how camp works.
I kind of think that's the rule of camp. I don't know, though. I've never experienced. So this is what we come into is then meeting the little girl group, I guess, would you call them, the core campers that include, of course, these two would get stuck together, right? Angel and Ferris.
Oh yes, and they and their beds are next to each other, and as the camp counselor said, they're very upset. But she says those beds have been reserved for months. For months.
These sleeping positions.
They can't switch with another girl. They can't move for months in advance. Their names have apparently been on those beds. Yeah. But that being said, one of the 10-year-olds just decides to stay in her cabin, even though she's not allowed to.
I have to tell you, she is one of my favorite characters. The Penny or Penelope or the chubby girl.
I don't know any of their names. There's Angel, there's Ferris, and they hate each other. Then there's
the bitchy leader. I don't know her name either. I don't think we really learn it.
So she's the instigator.
Yes.
There's the little girl with pigtails.
I think that's Penelope.
Little blonde girl with pigtails who's 10.
Well, she doesn't want to. She's stuck herself in the group. She's the one that put herself in the group, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Then, of course, there's Sunshine. She's the hippie, played very well by Cynthia Nixon. Is that her name? Very, very young.
And that was her first movie.
Oh, I didn't know it was her first. She's very young, and she's great. She is the perfect Sunshine hippie chick. Mm-hmm. And then there's two
there's random red-haired girl.
Oh yeah, who doesn't really get she's not. And then there's a couple of brunettes. Like one of them is really into Shakespeare and talks about romance all the time.
She talks a lot. For a girl who is extremely nondescript, she has a lot of lines.
Agreed.
She should be third billing in this. She's always talking.
Exactly.
And then there's a girl who wears a hat with an arrow through it, which only pays off in one scene, but she's in every scene. I don't think she has a single line of dialogue, or it was all cut out. But she wears a hat with an arrow through it, which is the dumbest thing.
But these are our core campers. Mm-hmm. And when they get together, of course, the bitch ignites this... a bet, I guess, is essentially is what she calls it. And do you remember how she gets? Because it's $100 bet, and the bitch, who is I think a part-time model or an actress, she's also engaged, isn't she? She's like 15, but she's engaged.
Yeah, she just mentions that.
But she's also a model, and she has a check from Tippy Curl. I think it's her Tippy Curl.
I don't know. I know that she says that she did. Commercials. She was a cream rinse for Cream Rinse, which is now I think called conditioner, right? Nobody calls it Cream Rinse anymore. But I loved it, and I don't know if you picked up on this. I've seen the movie a few more times than you. She is the before girl.
Oh, I did not.
So she's not even the one who has nice hair,
kind of awesome.
Which is a really weird.
She is as an actress,
because she's a super bitch.
She's very awkward looking,
really
too.
Full of herself.
Yeah.
And she mentions that she's the before girl. I wouldn't say that. I would leave that out when saying you were in commercials for a certain hair care product. I'd just be like, oh yeah, I was in that. Yeah. And people would assume you got to be the after girl.
You got to be.
So anyway, what is this bet?
So it's $100 bet to see who can lose their virginity first, because as we know, virginity in a 15-year-old goes like that. It should, as it should.
How could they not have lost their virginity? I mean, it's already summer between, I'm going to say, 7th and 8th grade.
There you go.
I don't know ages. 7th and 8th grade. That seems way too young.
No, I think that's your right on. You're right on.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. So who has to lose their virginity? All of the girls? No, clearly not, because all of them appear to be having sex constantly.
Even the 10-year-old.
And for years, right? Even the 10-year-old makes very rude comments for a 10-year-old and talks about things that I don't think 10-year-olds know of.
No, well, in that...
And I wouldn't think a 10-year-old in the 80s would. In 1980. All right, so who's this?
So the bet is
who's
between,
involved
of
in
course,
this?
Angel, Bright, and Ferris. So,
Our main
yeah,
character.
so the girls reluctantly kind of join in the bet. But, what are they going to do?
Oh.
They're rival enemies, and they've got to, they got to work it out, basically. So...
But all the other girls get in on this because I noticed that they split into two groups.
Kind of,
Like there's
yeah.
a group
yeah.
that's betting for Ferris because the very
Yes.
talkative girl seems really upset that Ferris isn't finding a man
True.
within whatever time frame this takes place. I have no idea what time frame
I don't know if this lasts
movie
the whole
takes place
summer
in.
or what, like that
It's the-
kind of...
It's bonkers and out of control because the moment after they make this bet, there is a summer camp
Yes.
montage of their boating, they're
Yeah.
swimming, they're playing baseball.
I think at one
don't know
point
how
they're
many
jumping
days
on
have passed.
trampolines, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh.
yeah. I don't know how many days have gone
No,
by.
but it's clearly we're having, yes, word gets around about the competition, essentially. You're right. People know, and people join sides.
So do these girls? First of all, it's an all-girls camp, which makes this extremely difficult. It seems like a really tough bet at an all-girls camp.
Don't you fear.
So what Ferris does is she seems to target someone who's very close to the camp.
Yeah, well, basically,
say?
very involved in the camp. He's, I think, the coach or the counselor, but he coaches
That's
them
never
in sports.
clear. That's never
Not
been
really. He's everywhere. He's teaching them swimming and jumping jacks and yeah.
And it is Armand Assante,
Yes.
just so everybody
Yes.
knows that. And what I found was interesting was that he was 31 years old when he
Wow.
filmed this, and they're all like 16,
Wow,
which makes it even more
Yeah,
creepy.
yeah.
And his eyebrows, he's got eyebrows that
For
don't
days.
quit.
They are for
They
days.
go straight
Yeah,
across. And I guess I could see how a young girl might be attracted to him because he's an older guy.
Well,
he's
especially
always around.
her-
But I don't know if it's just proximity. Like, she never says anything like that. She really seems to be into him.
he is the only male I think that we see at the camp. So you're right.
You
I
are
think
right.
proximity helps it along. But no, she's into him. Like this is for Ferris. This isn't going to be a good. Those brows
But this
are
is what I don't
hers.
understand. She goes off on this terribly lame flirting where she asks him his sign.
Oh
and-
yes.
And
Can I ask you something
she
personal?
talks to him like they've known each other for years.
Oh, but he engages back the same. It's not like he's reserved.
know.
Like
I was very confused. I was like, well, wait a second. Does she go to this camp every
Right.
year? Do they
Right.
have some sort of relationship before this? But that doesn't make any sense because none of these girls know each other.
Exactly. No, it's just an instant connection. It's her and her knowledge of astrology. When he says, I'm a Leo. I knew you were a Leo. I knew it.
Oh,
Yes,
she's very excited
yes.
about that. Yes. And then she runs away down a dock to nowhere. The scene just ends.
right.
It's a very strange,
That's
abrupt
right.
end to this scene. Like, I thought she was going to run down and jump in the water or something. But no, that would not have worked because later she pretends that she
Right,
can
exactly,
swim.
which is a good ploy for her to, yes.
That is. Yes. He teaches them jumping jacks, archery, and apparently swimming.
Jack of all trades. I was going to talk about when the boys were skinny dipping. And because even though it's an all-girls camp, the girls got a hold of some Nokis, some binoculars, and they were watching some boys. Because as far as I know about summer camps, that's what boys love to do, is get naked around each other and jump into water.
That really surprised me because all these girls want to do apparently is just get laid and hang out, and these boys just want to rip their clothes off and jump in the water
With
and
each
swim
other,
around. With each
Yeah,
other.
yeah. Well, not Angel though. Angel does not want to watch the boys.
No,
skinny
she's
dipping.
not into this.
You know what?
No.
She is not.
And that's the moment I was like, well, wait, maybe this is right. Well, that's the moment I was like, maybe this movie is way more progressive than I thought it was, and maybe she is a lesbian. Like I thought that was
like
kind
that
of
was
where it
going
was
to be
going
the
at that
yeah.
point.
Well, it still is.
Because who wouldn't want to look at a bunch of naked dudes?
Come on, you're 15.
Really?
You're 15, and we all know that a 15-year-old boy's body is the best thing you could look at. Let's be real.
It really
Especially
is.
when they're jumping in the
It is.
water. So anyway, after these girls watch the skinny dipping, they're inspired to really get in some trouble, and they decide to steal a bus, a camp bus. Mm-hmm. And the purpose for stealing this bus was a particular errand that they felt the need to run.
And this brings up an issue, and it sort of started with them spying on the boys, is where characters are constantly going places, mm-hmm. and as the viewer, we don't know where they're going, what their plan is, what they talked about beforehand, because the only mention is the girls are watching all these naked men, and of course, the one girl says, well, what about protection? And the other girl goes, I don't know, the guy takes care of that. And that's it. I didn't know they were stealing a bus to go get condoms. I had no idea what was happening. I thought the guy took care of that.
Well, these ladies are taking it into their own hands, down to stealing this cockadoodie bus right here.
They do. So they steal a bus. And they go to an abandoned gas station.
Yes, a gas station bathroom is what they stumble upon.
It's the middle of the day. There are no cars on the road. This must have been filmed in the most remote location possible. You don't see any cars. You don't see any people.
No.
It's a gas station. Nobody's pumping gas. Nobody comes out to ask them why they're trying to break into the men's bathroom.
Well, at some point, that's when we meet our friend Matt Dillon. Matt Dillon does come in. And he's the only person for miles near this gas station. With some chick, right? And isn't he with a chick in the car?
Yeah, he's in a car with some girl, and that's when he and Christy McNichol, Angel, have their meet cute.
Yes, right? yes.
And it is kind of cute. I like when he pops her bubble gum and then puts her gum in his mouth. Like, I thought that, like, to a 14, 15-year-old girl, that would be pretty charming
that
and
makes
kind
your
of
palms
sexy.
Sweat. Yeah, you're into it. She was like, I mean, they were already, she saw him, she was like, bad boy, bad girl, we're going to be into each other.
That's right.
But, yeah, the gum cinched the deal.
The dialogue, though, is stupid because she constantly asks him questions like, what's your name? And he goes, me?
Oh, yeah. She kind of took.
And she's like, I know my name. And then he tells her his name. And then she goes, where are you from? And he goes, me?
And she goes,
it's like
I know where I'm
forgot
from.
the line. And yes, you did say Matt Dillon looks like Christy McNichol, and he really does. I mean, all three of our main characters have the same hair.
It's a beautiful 80s
They all have the same haircut.
Yeah.
It is very... They all even have the same body type, which is strange, too.
True.
It's kind of tough to tell them apart at times.
Agreed.
Yeah. So he's drunk. She says he's clearly drunk.
Oh, right.
Yes.
But they are sober, and in their soberness, what they do... We haven't even talked about this yet.
Oh, no. That's the best part of the whole movie,
It's amazing. And it's, again, why Penny, the young girl, is my favorite. They hike this little girl up into the bathroom, and while she's in there, she's got to get some condoms out of the condom machine. But the condoms aren't coming so easy. So Penny takes matters into her own hands. And this little thing...
She just hauls off and kicks the shit out of this condom dispenser and kicks it right off the wall.
And grabs it.
And then walks out with it.
And just exits the bathroom. Matt Dillon is there as her audience and all the girls, and they all go back on the bus.
Yeah.
But not just a few condoms, the whole condom machine, which...
The whole machine. And I even like... how Matt Dillon says something like, woo, or he pumps his fist in the air and then goes into, I guess...
To go to the bathroom, right? He clearly didn't need any condoms because he wasn't...
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, and it is a really great part of the movie because that little girl, they first boosted her up to get into the bus so they could steal it, and then they boost her up into the bathroom, and I kind of thought that would be a recurring thing. Never happens again. Never. She's never lifted up again. And in a weird way, kind of forgotten about for the rest of the
true.
movie.
She just plays a couple of key roles there in the beginning, and then she just washes on. They do have a magnificent moment back at camp with the condom machine when they break it apart, sort of Office Space fax machine style, where they just kind of slam it open. I know that didn't happen in slow motion, but in my head it kind of did.
Right. It would have been so much better had it been in slow motion with rap music playing.
Perhaps. Although
right?
I will say as a PS, the soundtrack to this movie is really good. Yeah.
It's very impressive when they steal the bus. Blondie's playing.
Yes.
I was going to say after they again, it's the thing with time with this movie. They break into the condom machine, they steal a bunch of condoms, and then run because some whistle or bell goes off. Then they're in the cafeteria.
Oh,
in completely different clothes. Like, I thought they had to go eat. No, they're in completely different clothes, and it's breakfast time because this is where we have our
the
food
titular
fight.
food fight of the camps,
Yes.
the camping movie.
Of the movie
Yes.
food fight. And they have this food fight, which they actually seem to be enjoying themselves. It's really the first time where they seem to be having a good time, and they're genuinely laughing. This is not forced. This is not acting at this point.
This is the tension being all released. This is a food fight. It's what I'm assuming. Again, I never had a summer camp experience, but I'm assuming this happens at every summer camp, and it's when everybody's just had enough. And so...
Well, it doesn't just happen at every summer camp. According to Cynthia Nixon, this happens every time they eat.
That's right.
She actually says that. It's a line where she says, every time they eat, which I assume days, maybe weeks have gone by.
And this is part of the routine.
3 times a day.
Like, this meal could be any time.
Don't see it coming. None of them just say, no, I'm not going to go to breakfast today.
Right.
I might just stay in my cabin because I know what's going to happen. No, they all participate, and it really is fun.
No, it is. It's a nice, yeah.
And it's in a weird way, like, this is where the movie changes. Like, that's the last bit of goofy, funny, like, intentional goofy funniness of the movie. Because this is about at the midpoint. And it's when everything changes. And the movie gets a lot more serious.
Yes, it does take more
than it was.
Yes, it takes much more of a serious tone. But even starting with, I think from there, the transition is like where there's women walking in a field of flowers. So you go from this food fight to this very random, like peaceful, like you feel the movie make a transition. You're like, what's happening right now?
When you say women walking in a field, you're kind of right, because I'm not sure who those people
exactly.
are.
I'm like, and then I'm introduced to people for the first time. Is this when the parents come in? Is this parent weekend? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's basically parent weekend. Does this happen at camp?
I don't.
Do parents come to visit their children?
It's very, very random.
No, I don't think this would happen at camp. I mean, again, unless this is over the course of the entire summer, which nothing really gives us the impression that much time has passed.
No.
You could have told me this took place over the course of 3 days. I'd be like, yeah, that's
Exactly. By the time they got the bus and then went to, about 3-4 days.
Right. They woke up and then they had a food fight and then they went home 3 days later. Yeah, sure. But so then the parents come to visit them, and who is it? Angel just has a mom.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes. She's got a single mom who herself seems to be a bit of a loose woman, I'll say. She's got her eye on the coach or the eyebrows, Coach Eyebrows over there.
Well, he's the only man there. Well, I guess not on parent visitation day. I'm sure there's some single dads she could find.
Well, she has an interesting reaction to the sex talk her daughter wants to have with her.
Oh, yeah. I had a question for you. When did you talk to your mom about the first time she had sex? I assume that happens with all girls and their mother at some point. How old were you, and was it at camp?
This mother didn't even have a response. Her response was biting into a hamburger and then shrugging it off and being like, I don't know. Then her daughter was like probing her, like, how do you know when it's real, when I should really do it? And is sex such a big deal? And she just bites a hamburger and says, I don't know.
I know, and it's so weird, too, because she's really trying, like, this is a troubled girl.
Yes.
I mean, she did kick that guy at the beginning, but It looked like she lived in the projects.
It did look like
there were a lot of
kick-worthy.
large buildings really close together. A lot of people just hanging out. She walked through piles and piles of hanging laundry, and she's not well, I don't think. And she's looking for some help from her mother, and her mother just eats a hamburger. Although, then you cut to some parents in the cabin.
Oh,
and
yes.
they open a drawer, and it's just full of condoms. And I think, isn't it the parents of the little 10-year-old?
Yes, it is, which is kind of...
And she just shuts the door and kind of goes, ooh.
Yes, there's no
real reaction whatsoever.
And you wonder if that's why these girls are so sex crazy, because their parents are just like, what?
And I don't know how deeply we should look into this movie, but like, if we do the math, the parents of these girls were probably teenagers themselves in the 50s, and were probably extremely repressed. So is that
a sign of the...
Am I looking into this a bit too much?
Well, no, not necessarily. You're looking at the psychology of the characters, of the parents, in this very bizarre... actually, it's not... The whole movie does have a bizarre timing, now that we are on to this more sensitive side of it, I will say that it does sort of have a very poignant kind of like My So-Called Life, or
oh yeah,
it's very touching as a teen girl in the early 80s. I think it would have been my Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Like, am I, this is big. And I will say Christy McNichol does amazing. I think everyone in the cast.
Oh, I think so too. But I think what makes that work is the fact that they got away from the parents. And the only thing the parents do is to basically show up to ignore them or share really bad news, like your mom and I are getting a divorce, have fun at camp.
Oh, that was a shame for our poor friend Ferris.
And that's what Ferris's dad says. But before he says that, which I think is another great scene in the movie, is when they walk by and there's a bunch of girls walking by with the word Ferris on their shirt, and they're like, Team Ferris. And her dad goes, it looks like you've been making friends. He doesn't have any other questions.
Right. Like, these girls are wearing your shirt, like shirts with your name on it. Friends. These are fans.
That's right.
Fans of you doing what?
But I guess he's got more important things on his mind.
His wife's in Reno getting a divorce. It's not easy. And she is tore up about it. But before she is tore up about it, she does try to convince I want to call him the professor, because that's what he is to me.
No, just call him Eyebrows.
She does try. They conjure up a plan for her to seduce the professor with her lack of ability to swim, I guess we could say.
Oh, yes. So she does pretend to not know how to swim, and then he has to give her swimming lessons. Yes. And it really doesn't go anywhere.
No, and they have a very awkward scene in the pool together. He does sort of pull her away a few times, but you're still like, their whole relationship you're really wondering, like, is he? Are they?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. But because there's girls at this camp ranging, I'm going to say up to 17, and she's only 15. I'm not saying he did anything with 17-year-olds, but there's a really good chance that
they leave it off with he tells her that he would if she was 21. Right? And that's
that's not even what he says. She keeps saying that. She keeps saying, but if I was 21, and he's not saying anything because he's thinking next year.
Yes, exactly.
Like 21, just as soon as you get your driver's license,
right.
It's not a big deal then. Well, Eyebrows here, and I don't know if you found this out, and a lot of his scenes are awkward and strange, and meeting is weird. But what I found out through some trivia is there was another actor cast for his role.
Oh.
And this guy filmed a lot of it and then was fired. The director hated him. And most of the movie was done before Eyebrows came in, and they had to slapdash his stuff together near the end of shooting.
Oh, so that makes the jankiness even more accurately janky.
Well, and we're talking a lot about him. And we're not talking a lot about Matt Dillon, and we really should. because he and what's her name, Angel, their arc is so much more interesting to me.
Oh, I agree. Well, both of their I guess their chemistry is really, it's a very young Matt Dillon. And again, at times they're in a very dark boathouse together, and they really look, like you said, even body shape, haircut, like they look alike. It's very
it's confusing.
Yes.
During those night scenes,
yeah.
It's very confusing as to who's talking, who we're looking at. That's right. Yeah. She's wearing a jean jacket. He's wearing a woman's top.
A blouse, essentially. He's wearing a blouse.
That's right,
yeah.
Yes. Well, my favorite scene is when she decides to seduce him in a cemetery, mind you, by giving him beer and then forcing him to chug that beer and getting very angry when he does. She's just like, keep drinking. Why aren't you drinking? We cut away, cut back. He is passed out. There's empty beer cans all around him.
He's like a 50-year-old man that can't hold his liquor. Like, he's no 17-year-old kid that's just trying to party with some young girl. No, she had all these beers in her backpack that she brought from home.
Oh, she brought them home too, which is great. Yeah. Again, the sign of a troubled youth.
Yes.
You need to bring alcohol to camp. Like, you need to. You need to bring a case of beer in a backpack, I guess.
For moments like this, when you need to lose your virginity and you need to get... Right. But so this plan backfires because...
Well, I don't think she packed any clothes because she's always wearing a jean jacket.
It's true, she is. Pretty much is a staple for her.
Yeah.
But it works. But he does not, and that night does not, and she does not get laid.
Right. But she goes back though, and he's in a tent. Like the girls are in cabins. Do the boys just sleep in tents? Because he's out in a tent with other guys, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go. Some girls here for me in a canoe." She has to canoe over.
She canoes to him.
I guess she just stole it from camp too. Which
she steals it every night, though, doesn't she? Essentially, she steals it every night to see. And this camp is not really run. It's not a really tightly oiled ship. I think that was
we don't see anyone that works there.
Except for Bryce.
Except for a woman in a very strange
hat. There is the old woman, yes. But even she, I don't think she's very involved in the camp. But regardless.
No, I don't either. If you watch the trailer, like the 3-minute trailer, there's a lot of stuff that we did not see in the movie.
I'm sure there was a shit ton of scenes that they just... That's why it's so... cut up all so janky.
Oh yeah. So she decides to get Matt Dillon in a canoe, and she's going to take him to an abandoned
boathouse
building
of
in
some
the woods.
Kind. Yes.
And they're going to get down, and they're going to do it, and that's
and
it.
And this is how. But this is such a touching scene to me. I really was moved by it. I have to say, this is the scene that she kind of freezes a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah. And he gets mad.
He's pissed.
He gets really upset. But before that, I like the fact that she asked him about condoms, and he's like, "What? You're not on the pill?" I thought that was pretty good, because at this point, I'm not sure he knows how old she is.
No. Yeah, you're not on...
She looks like she's 17, maybe 18.
15,
but
you're not on the
pill.
pill.
No, she's 15.
Yeah, and you're not on the pill. And her response is she's allergic to the pill. She's allergic.
Wait, is she really?
I'm allergic to the pill.
I must have missed that part.
But yeah, she freezes. She's very, she does such a good job. It's when you see that this is a really good actress. I will say that. I felt watching. I was moved, I would tell you.
It was really good, and they were both good in these night scenes, because then there's two, which makes me think they kind of just filmed both of them at the same time, or he actually then convinced her, and they're like, no, let's break this up into two separate nights.
Yeah, because this night ends, and again, he's pissed, and so no one's getting any, right?
Right, yes, because while this is going on, Ferris is in Eyebrows camp.
Yes, exactly.
And she's all, I don't know, it's this very weird young teenage girl's view of love and sex. And she talks about Romeo and Juliet. And he is just uncomfortable through the whole thing. He does not want her to be there.
No,
like
he
he's
knows
just kind of
this is a sticky. She grabs his wine. He grabs it out of her hand.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only thing missing is him like opening the door and looking around. Like, is anybody else seeing? Did anybody see her come in here? Because if so, I am in
Yes,
big
he
trouble.
knows that, but she's almost oblivious. She's playing every angle. She claims that she's going to die unless it's her dying wish is to kiss him or some kind of goofy.
Which is really weird and over dramatic.
yeah.
Like that seems like stuff girls might think about saying, but would never say. Nobody would ever actually say those words.
No. Well, and she not that confidently. I wouldn't think but.
No, this is bad acting.
Yes.
This is Tatum O'Neal acting poorly or acting very well by acting poorly. I'm not sure
either.
But then there is it then just cuts to another night scene
boathouse. Yep.
with exactly. So they're back at the boathouse. Presumably a whole day has gone by.
Well, a whole day, but let me tell you, Matt Dillon's character, Ryan, he's a totally different person now, isn't he? His feelings?
His name is Randy. Why do you keep thinking his name's Ryan?
I don't know.
His name is Randy.
He doesn't look like a
Get
Randy.
it? He's Randy.
Now I get it.
Do you get it? Angel is no angel.
And he's a Randy guy. I get
Ferris
it now.
is just has a bizarre name.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, he is
Randy
then is very, very sensitive in this scene.
Well, after they have sex.
True. Of course.
We don't. Not a whole lot goes on before that. I don't think we're privy to what really goes on before that. We kind of come in after it's all done.
Right. But we know that the deed is
because she is damaged.
Yes.
She is just sitting there and upset, disappointed, confused. I'm not sure.
I think all those things. And again, I think very well played and very. If I was a 15-year-old girl in 1980, I guess this is very relatable. And so yeah, she's damaged. She's not feeling so good. But he's turned over a new leaf. He's in love.
Oh no, yeah. Once she says that she's never done that before, he's very caring. He goes over and he like puts his arm around her and sits down. And he's like, "Oh no, I didn't know."
Yeah.
Like,
he becomes this sensitive guy, and you almost go, "Well, come on, this now." Sweetie, go for it. You've got this guy now, but she's really turned off by him. She's not into this whole thing at all.
But in the meantime, Ferris is back with all the other girls, telling those girls that she and Eyebrows did have sex.
She's lying, but she is. She's keeping up that drama mama that she was.
Oh yeah, she's glowing.
Yes. Well, she literally is. She's like,
she is looking beyond. She doesn't even see those girls in the bunk. Like,
and she
really
weaves
weird.
them this magical tale of their champagne love and.
Oh yeah, they're asking for details, and she's giving it to them.
He turned the lights off. He says, "Remember, she turned the lights off to be kind or something." They're like, "Oh, so romantic." So she's winner, chicken dinner, as far as they know. She did it, but. Then our real winner, I mean, she really was laid. Angel comes home, and or home, I guess, to the cabin.
No, they never go home. We never see their home life. Thank God.
True. So she returns, and she lies as well about her conquest.
Right. She says they didn't. And there we go. End of the movie. Movie over. Ferris wins. $100. Whatever. The mean girl wins, right? Because she bet on Ferris.
Now that's where you think it could. It could stop right there.
Well, that would be a terrible.
Well,
that would be awful.
So that's why it doesn't.
But no, it doesn't end there. And they do something which. Other than the mean girl being dressed as a mouse, which is fantastic. They didn't need to do this. They didn't. So Matt Dillon approaches the mean girl, or is looking for Angel.
Yes.
And the mean girl, dressed as a mouse, for no reason.
As a really costumed out mouse. Like, not just mouse ears. Like, really, she is in some sort of play.
She's got a tail.
Yes.
She has whiskers drawn on her face.
Yes.
Yeah.
No one else around her is in costume, P.S.
No, not at all. And you think maybe she's in a play. Maybe. Maybe that'll
Well,
pay
later,
off later. We'll find
they
out.
do watch it.
Because it doesn't. Actually, it really
They
doesn't
watch a
pay
play
off.
later, but she is literally in the audience of the play, and there is no mice. There are no mice.
The play is
in
the
play.
Pirates of
Yes,
Penzance.
yeah.
I don't think there's mice in that.
I don't know.
But anyway, so she tells Matt Dillon about the bet. And he is so broken up that he then asks the bitchy girl if she wants to get together that night. So I assume he's banging her.
Yeah, he moves on right away.
Right. Yeah.
But-
that's how you get over someone.
And
though,
really
right?
is to make her jealous, which he does try to do, and he confronts her with sort of his he knows, and he feels kind of like a toy in the whole thing, like, you know. And she stays very strong here, and she wants nothing to do with loving him, nothing to do with working it out.
She doesn't like him anymore. He's kind of upset.
Mm-hmm.
The bitchy girl's happy because she won a bet and she got to sleep with Matt Dillon, which is pretty sweet. Well, actually, wait. Angel seemed pretty upset by it, actually.
Might not be
Never
so
mind.
sweet.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's not that great. Maybe it's not all that I've thought about.
Yes, true.
So then you're right. Then they watch a different play with no mice.
Yes.
Angel, she and Matt Dillon, he wants to get back together with her again. She says no.
She denies him. Yeah.
And then there are two heroines meet up on a tire swing.
A beautiful tire swing where they connect. They laugh with each other.
Yeah.
They share genuine
They both,
moments.
do they both confess? Or no?
Yeah, I think they confess to each other.
Well, Angel tells Ferris that she had sex, but I don't... Oh, wait, no. Ferris tells her that they never had sex. She and Eyebrows, right?
Yes, I think she explains how it was all just sounded so much fun and like a fantasy and yada yada. So yeah, they connect and it's a beautiful tire swing moment. Yeah.
Except for the fact, which is really troubling, that she has convinced everyone at this camp that a counselor has had sex with a 15-year-old.
Yes, there is that. Yes.
And this dude is in serious
He is in hot
trouble.
water. Guess what? He's not coming back to camp next year, ladies.
No, he's in prison.
Yeah.
This guy is in prison because her dad, Daddy Warbucks or whatever, he has the best lawyers.
He is going to see
and
to it.
even if his daughter says, no, I lied, nope. In his mind, she's just trying to protect this
There you
total
go.
creepazoid.
There you
and
go.
he is destroying this man's life. So the very last, not the very last scene of the movie, but the last really great scene of the movie is with all of the girls again.
Yes.
Sitting around.
Reunited.
And of course, it all comes out that none of these girls have had sex.
Of course.
None of them.
And we are...
Except for the bitchy girl.
Oh, well, yeah.
Right.
But she's an aftermodel, so...
Right. She's an aftermodel. Yes. But what I think is nice... First of all, Cynthia Nixon punches that girl in the face.
Oh, I think that's awesome.
Just knocks her out. But what I also thought was kind of
calls
nice
her
and
a
kind
fraud.
of refreshing. Yes.
You fraud.
But you know what? That's kind of nice because in another weird way, there's no, and it would have been so easy to just put in some like slut shaming at the end.
True.
But they don't even do that.
No.
It's very fair. It's like a movie where it's like, well, there's sex and you can have it and you don't have to, and it's not that great, but it's not that bad.
Right,
there's no like definitive, and I think that's what's really nice about this.
True. Yeah, it's a very sort of real ending.
It is. I think that's one of the. I don't want to say it's one of the only things this movie has going for it, but it really is. It feels very real.
Yes.
It feels like the people that wrote this movie sort of understood maybe how to tell it from a young girl's point of view.
I think that again, a very for the time period, it is very. I mean, think about a bunch of 15-year-old girls talking about losing their virginity. That movie would not fly in theaters now.
That's
the pitch
why
would not
all
go.
of these. That's why all these movies are about guys.
Yes,
because
yes,
guys can be a lot funnier about it,
Right.
and it can be totally goofy.
Yes.
And sex can be treated just sort of as conquest or something like that, as opposed to with these girls, it seems, again, like we said, very real.
Yes.
And very authentic.
Yes.
So I did think that's what worked. And so, of course, they do become friends, and they take the bus back, and what does she say? This is my friend. She says something dumb.
My best
Oh,
friend.
this is my friend Ferris Whitney. That's when we find out their name's Whitney.
Oh, yes, which of course.
Which isn't comical at all,
No.
actually. And then she says, yes, my best friend.
Yes.
And then, I don't know, I'm going to say freeze frame on the two of them smiling. That seems like something that would happen in this movie.
Yes.
And I thought what was really nice at the end was they introduce the newly single dad to the super promiscuous mom.
Yes, yeah.
So maybe they get together. I think that's what we're supposed to hope as an audience.
I think that's what we're seeing connect and then make this whole unit sort of one.
I feel like we've talked about it. Like, our thoughts on the movie. Was it good? Was it bad? Is it worth watching? Would we recommend? Oh, first of all, just a few things to say. If you're looking for this movie, good luck. You can't find it. You cannot find it. It's on VHS and it's on Laserdisc. But I assume if you're computer savvy, you can find it. But it's not like it's on DVD or Blu-ray or on TV.
No, not at all. And
anything.
okay, two things about that. So number one is, yes, very difficult to find. As a matter of fact, I had to watch it through you versus on a Skype. I couldn't even get it on my own computer. So very, very difficult to watch. And I actually read in some trivia that the reason that it can't be released to DVD yet has something to do with music rights.
Well, yeah, I heard that too. I heard that the VHS had the regular music, and then with the Laserdisc, they had to put in new music because they couldn't get the rights.
Wow.
Yeah, I also found out, and this one's way more interesting, is that this was recut into a TV movie.
Oh, that's delicious.
Well, it's delicious and confusing because they cut out every single part about sex, and it turned into a movie about the two of them having to get a guy. Have a guy fall in love with them or something like that, which seems totally crazy because every scene is horribly graphic about sex.
They use the same film and just edit. Oh, man.
Yeah, but there's also a scene where one of them, I don't know if it's Ferris or the other one, saves the other one from drowning. And that wasn't in the regular film. But when they recut the TV version, I guess they realized, oh no, we have like a 30-minute movie now.
They had to beef it up. Yeah, they're like, we're totally missing the best scene.
So they got
steal the condom machine.
Yeah, so they got all this footage that wasn't in the theatrical release. So, yeah. So be on the lookout. I mean, if you try and find this and they're not talking about sex within the first 20 minutes, you have the TV version.
I mean, that might be a fine enough version. But
send it to us because I want to see that version
I would like
too.
to do compare contrast. I would totally recommend this movie, though.
I would too.
I couldn't stop thinking about it after I watched it, just because
too.
I was like,
I mean, it's a real. I don't want to say it's a throwaway, but I don't think it's anything that's going to have any major impact on anyone that watches it. It seems just a step above a TV movie as far as the production values go. Mm-hmm. But again, just the message alone and just the fact that it's so different than what you would expect to see. Definitely, I would recommend this.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, can we talk about... there's not much in the way of cinematography or anything that I really want to talk about, but there were two scenes in this where I really noticed the cinematography. Do you know what they are? Would you like to guess?
No. I just want you to tell me. Actually.
Okay. The first one is a panning shot of the chests of every girl between the ages of 10 and 16, which seems super crazy pervy and very, very upsetting, to be honest. I was kind of watching that as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance. It's so weird. And also there's music and it's like boing, boing, boing. It's like super silly circus music playing, which doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
And if you're not looking for it, you might miss it. Also, the other scene is after Ferris is with Eyebrows. And she's in that creepy, like, weird nightgown, like really long and
Oh,
white.
yeah, she comes to them.
She leaves, and we see her run off in the distance for what seems like 20 minutes because she just keeps going. It gets smaller and smaller until it's just this white dot on the horizon. I'm like, what? Why was this
did we need
decision
that?
made?
And how far is camp?
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's very weird because there's only 2 times that I even noticed photography in this, and they're very bizarre times.
And they are both very, yes.
Yeah.
But then you have to wonder if the cinematographer is some sort of a pedophile.
I know.
One has to wonder. Or just maybe not, but just into...
I don't know. Like, maybe the director just didn't say cut, and Tatum O'Neal's still running through this field, and he just forgot to say something.
She is angelic in this movie, and
she is. She's just floating around that camp.
Yeah, it's just floating.
All right. So after each movie, we'd like to offer up some recommendations that have some sort of similarity with what we just watched. So whether it's the same actor or director or theme or something like that. So I'm actually going to recommend 2 movies. One is terrible, but everybody should see it. And the other one is really good, but very upsetting, and everyone should see it. So the first one is called Two Moon Junction. And it's from 1988, so maybe stay tuned. Maybe we'll get to this one. It's basically softcore pornography. So I just want to put that out there. But it's starring Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks fame and nothing else. So basically she's engaged to this guy to be married, and a circus comes to town. Yes, a circus. And a super hunky carny who walks around shirtless pretty much the whole movie, and he has like a Fabio look to him. So she goes on a wild affair with him while her fiance's away. It's not a good movie. It's absolutely wretched. It's just sex scene after sex scene. What's his name's in it? Who's the guy that sings Holly Jolly Christmas? Why can't I think of the guy? Burl Ives. Burl Ives is in it.
Oh, yeah, good golly.
There's no sex scene with Burl Ives, but it's funny that he's in it. And the reason I'm recommending this is because Christy McNichol's in it, which I totally forgot. And for her performance in this, she won a Razzie. She won for Worst Supporting Actress.
Oh.
And it's such a shame because this was in 1988, and it makes me sad that this was only 8 years after Little Darlings, and she takes home a Razzie for her performance in a movie that I totally forgot she was in. So this recommendation is for 14-year-old boys who can get in a time machine and travel back to 1990 when this was on HBO. And so they could sneak into the living room at like 1 a.m. while their parents are asleep and watch it. So that's who this movie is for.
Excellent.
So get your hands on it. It's great. And the other one that I'm going to recommend, based on the virginity theme, is a movie called Virgin Spring. Yeah, it's a Swedish movie from Ingmar Bergman. So it's good. It's about a girl who is raped and murdered by these guys. And then these guys take refuge at her dad's house, and he finds out what these guys did, and then he does very terrible things to them. So it's very good, though. Where the other one won a Razzie, this actually won an Academy Award and a Golden Globe for Best Foreign Film. It's from 1960, though, so it's old and it's in Swedish, but if people are interested, it really is worth a watch. So that's it. Do you have anything you want to talk about? You don't. You're terrible. You're horrible.
I'm the worst.
Let's just... Your recommendation is Little Darlings. It's from 1980. And it stars Christy McNichol. No, I think we can wrap it up, and we can talk about what we're gonna do in 2 weeks.
Okay,
2 weeks from now. So what are we doing?
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now, we'll be celebrating fathers, and not just
you're wrong.
One father.
You're totally wrong. You're skipping.
I'm skipping ahead. Oh, look at me. I don't have recommendations. I don't even know what month it is.
And so in 2 weeks, what we're going to do is we are going to celebrate the end of school. The end of school. School is wrapping up. School is finishing. College just basically finished this past week, depending on where you live.
Graduations.
And, elementary schools, high schools, students will be out within the next couple weeks. So in honor of that, we're going to watch the greatest Brat Pack movie of all time, should we say?
I mean,
can we say that St. Elmo's Fire is the greatest without us having even really seen it?
I'm excited to know how great it is because I have heard that it is an epic. I mean, when people talk about 80s movies, it is not one that I've seen, and this one people are moved by St. Elmo's Fire.
Yes, and I'm very excited too because I feel like this was a very timid 80s movie. It was almost like dipping your big toe into the 80s pool because, like we said, I mean, they had feathered hair, but I don't know, it was just kind of short shorts and tiny t-shirts. Like, I feel like with and I almost want to call it the Breakfast Club, with St. Elmo's Fire, I think we're diving headfirst into the 80s. I feel
and
like
I'm excited about it.
This is going to be Duran Duran. This is going to be giant teased hair and bad
lots of
shoulder pads.
I was just going to say shoulder pads, fluorescence, lots of cuffing of things.
I don't know. There were lots of handcuffs in the 80s. Is that what happened? Before that, police did not have handcuffs. It wasn't until a little movie called St. Elmo's Fire the police said, that sounds like a really good idea.
I'm referring to the cuff of a pant.
Okay. We'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Oh, if you're listening to this and have any interest in following us or paying attention to what we do, we are on Facebook. Just try and find, what are we on as? I should know this stuff.
Be Kind Rewind.
What?
That I know.
I think it's Be Kind Rewind.
Yes.
It's just no. I don't.
It's just Be Kind. We're just trying to be kind. No,
it is
Be Kind Rewind.
No. I know what the name of our podcast is. No, I'm just saying, if you're on Facebook, can you just type in Be Kind Rewind, or is it like Be Kind Rewind Podcast? I forget what I named it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's considered a podcast. I think you like it as Be Kind Rewind, the podcast.
And we're also on Twitter. We are at _ because somebody already took Be Kind Rewind. So I had to put the little line and then Be
That's
Kind
fine.
Rewind.
It lets people
so
know.
You can find us there too, and we'll put up, I don't know, funny things, interesting things.
Maybe.
We'll talk about what we're going to do in the future.
We could try.
We'll build it up.
Yeah.
We'll make it.
We'll make it
seem
happen.
like all these movies are amazing. Well, so we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. That's it. Bye.
Goodbye.
What about you, smut mouth?
What about me, shithead?